We are on, and it is right now. It is the Fight IQ 307 breakdown brought to you by RotoWire. With me, well, not quite as always, but sort of as always, it is the podcast partners flanking either side of me. It is Drake and Joey T. Joe is not here tonight, which I don't mind too much, except I won't be getting trolled too much on the salaries of DraftKings, so that is a good thing. For my part, I am of course Chris Olson, and I will be your host tonight for this 12 fight card, breaking it down. Two title fights on this pay-per-view card: Raquel Pennington, Julianna. How did I get another title fight? Pena, and then of course Khalil Rountree versus Alex Pereira, having his fourth title fight in less than a calendar year. Very impressive. Let's see if he can pull it off. So we are going to break down everything. But first, I'm going to kick it over to the boys here, see how they feel about it. And we will start with our guest of honor, Joey T. Joey, how do you feel about this card coming up?
There's a bunch of, older vets on this card. Maybe whoever wins stays, whoever loses could potentially go. I could see about maybe three retirements, possibly two in the first fight. And then we know one for sure with Esparza. DFS is definitely a tricky card. You got to find your spots. You're not going to be able to fully get up to all the payups you want unless you find good value in your dogs.
Yeah, find your spots, and I feel like that's going to be hard, especially in this card, because I feel like there's a lot of fights where there could be big points one way or the other, and you're going to have to choose right. So definitely tricky from that perspective. Drake, what about you? How do you feel about the card coming up here?
I feel like this is more of a fight night card.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
There's only a handful of fights that I'm actually looking forward to, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it is unfortunate that most of these cards do feel like fight nights now. And I say two title fights. I mean, almost in name only. Roundtree doesn't deserve his fight. Pena doesn't deserve her fight. So it is what it is. Of course, I'd rather watch Khalil Rountree than Julianna Pena, but by the measure of things, there's two fighters in each division who clearly deserve a shot more than those two. But it is what it is, and we will still give it our A-plus game, of course, breaking down these fights. So we will jump in, but before we do that, I just want to say that if you want a 10-day free trial of RotoWire, go to rotowire.com/free. That's rotowire.com/free. Again, 10 days, no credit card required. You check out all of our content. NFL in full swing, NBA and NHL picking up, everything going on. And, of course, there is still MLB DFS to be played for the playoffs. So you can check out all of that stuff again, rotowire.com/free for 10-day free trial. And now we will get on to the main event, so to speak, of course, which is our breakdown. And the first fight that we pick up is the old veteran fight. It is Tim Means at 9,000, taking on Court the Crusher McGee at 7,200. The line on this fight, minus 185. Tim Means, Court McGee plus 160 coming back. And I wrote in my review that it's not a good sign when somebody who had been known for their durability starts getting knocked out. And that's what's happening to Court McGee lately. Not the last fight, but the two before that. He gets sparked out by Matt Brown and then gets sparked out by my mouse is not working. Gets sparked out. Well, maybe not sparked out, but also Jeremiah Wells. And to me, again, a guy who had really been durable. I think only lost one other time by knockout in the UFC, and that was to Ponzinibbio years ago. So it's really concerning. Also concerning that Court McGee was never a guy to do all that much offensively. I mean, he was a wrestler. He was kind of a slower counter puncher. And I see a lot of Matt Brown and Tim Means, just a come forward striker who's going to lay the volume on, going to throw himself into the fire. Good on the ground, good active guard, very scrambly, hunts for submissions. So even if he does get taken down, those ground exchanges are going to be interesting. And I just don't think Court McGee is going to be able to do enough in this fight to really get things going, to really win enough moments. And in fact, I think he has to protect his chin again because I think the knockout might be looming once more. So I gotta take Tim Means here. I'm gonna be all over it. I actually like him to kick off the card very much. And we will once again start with Joey T, our honored guest here. Joey, how do you feel about the first fight?
Battle of the older vets. We are in Court McGee's backyard in Utah, so I think him knowing how his cardio can really push here, we could see Tim Means potentially slow down after round one from putting a lot of pressure. I do think Court McGee is going to try to get his wrestling involved in here, try to win time control. Maybe not do too much damage, but he's definitely going to try to hold the positioning and hold Tim Means down. I'm slightly going Court McGee with the value. Without a finish from Tim Means, I don't believe he's going to pay off by any means. Just like his last name, Tim Means. But no, I'm on Court McGee just for the value. It's not a play I'm fully confident getting to, but if you are a lower salary guy with one guy who could win possibly, maybe McGee at 72.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, I can see like not really trusting either of these veterans either way, but I mean, there's like an old phrase that we use which is fight for your money, and that's always going to be Tim Means. That's why I'm going here, and something tells me Drake agrees with me, but I can't quite put my finger on it. We will let him say it himself. Drake, how do you see this one?
It's funny, Joey, that you brought in elevation, and I fully get that McGee, it's what he's used to, but he's getting up there. He's already shown that he's slowed down in his fights. He had one good round where his cardio was solid against Morono, and then it just dropped off. I haven't seen a drop off from Means yet. And, for a guy that hits 40 and he still hasn't dropped off like that, the only thing that I've seen that's dropped from Tim Means is his chin, and I'm not worried about Court McGee knocking him out. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's going to be Means volume and potential knockout. McGee's gonna have to keep him on the ground. That's gonna be the only way that he can win this fight.
I'm glad that Drake and I see this one so eye-to-eye, because we were kind of getting into it before the pod on one particular fight, which is coming up, which we will get to. But yes, I do agree, and that was a very stark drop off from McGee late in that Morono fight. So that's something to be wary of there if he can get his wrestling going. But again, like that guard, nice active guard of Means, I think that's going to come into play. So we are both on Means, Joey on Court McGee there, and we will see how the veterans shake out in that one. Coming on to the next fight, it is the first Pennington on this card, Tisha now Pennington, taking on Carla Esparza. Prices, there I got it, on this fight, 8,700 Tisha Pennington, 7,500 Carla Esparza. Lines on this fight are, these lines are kind of mixed up, but it is minus 180 for Tisha Pennington. This still says Torres, and plus 150 for Carla Esparza. This is kind of an interesting fight for a fight that's not that interesting. If you get my meaning, I think the salaries are kind of interesting. I'm not exactly sure why Tisha would be that big of a favorite. My wonder is that she's always been like a strong, physically strong presence in the cage there, and Carla Esparza's wrestling has definitely been waning in the latter half of her career here. I actually just saw earlier today, and we talked about it a little bit before we came on, that Esparza said, look, no doubt about it, 100% after this fight, she's retiring. There's no going back on it. So, it's kind of hard to know how to take that in terms of how will she fight here. We've seen bad performances. We've seen more inspired performances like a Joanne Calderwood. So we'll get to the guys for their opinions on that. But on the fight itself, I guess I'm going to go Tisha ever so slightly, just because the volume and that strength, and the fact that I believe it in the last two fights, less than a minute of control time each for Carla Esparza. So if she can't get into that clinch and get things working, Pennington is just going to swallow her up with volume. So it's going to be, cash or nothing, and probably not even that, because Tisha Pennington does not score for DraftKings. She's going to really have to put some volume on for that to happen, and we only need to look at the fight that Esparza had with Rose Namajunas to see that she's an expert at not letting that volume take place, even if she's not winning. So I am going to go Tisha Pennington. Certainly not one of the fights I'm looking forward to for DFS or for watching purposes, but nice career for Carla Esparza, we do have to say. And we'll start with Drake on this one. Drake, how do you see this fight?
Yeah, I'm going to be opposite of you on this one. And this one strictly comes down to Pennington doesn't score for shit on DraftKings or just in DFS in general. And she also has terrible takedown defense. So if Esparza wants to win, I mean, she hasn't fought in almost 2 years. If she wants to win and she wants to get back on track, she needs to use her wrestling. My guess is that during this fight camp and during this time off, she's been working on that continually. She knows where her strengths are, and she should know 100% that she's going to get outstruck in this fight if it stays on the feet. So it should be Esparza taking this to the mat. For me, I'm hoping for 3 takedowns and at least 7 minutes of control time, and I'll take that from the 7,400 or whatever she is on DraftKings.
Yeah, it's true. It's just the last 2 performances leave such a bad taste in your mouth. And I get that one of them is Zhang Weili, and we knew that was going to happen in that fight. Just being way stronger and the way better grappler, certainly understand that. But then the fight before it, where she doesn't even try, and I just had to look and remind myself that she won that fight for the title because I did not. My brain blocks out that
fight didn't happen. We don't talk about that. It doesn't exist.
For some reason, there's just a space in the record there. And I'm not sure what happened, but certainly could see Esparza, and I think Drake's point is correct that if somebody's going to score, it is going to be Carla. So, and she is the cheaper one. So those 2 things together almost force you towards Esparza in DFS settings. But my pure pick is going to be Pennington, but again, not very exciting. Joey, how do you see this one?
Yeah, it's a bummer. I was hoping maybe to see Esparza back for a few more fights, but hey, she made her mind up. She wants to do this last fight. Be a parent. This was also a rematch. They also fought during their time, during Ultimate Fighter. Carla Esparza pretty much took her down at will, hold her the entire time. A little bit of ground and pound, but not too much. Just shitload of control time, saying, once I take you down, you're not getting back up. So I think ideally she knows the recipe to go back to her pure wrestling like she did in the first fight. As Drake said, I think this is going to be a takedown and repeat. I think I do see Torres getting up maybe a little bit more, or Pennington, or go off whatever last name you want to go off of. Yeah, I'm playing Esparza. She's probably my most exposed dog I'm getting to. Because you're telling me at 7,500, let's say if she does get between, let's say 3 to 5 or 3 to 6 takedowns, all control time, she easily pays that off with no problem or any concerns.
Yeah, and you know what? It is a thing because we don't have to go back too far in terms of fights, but we have to go far back in terms of time, which is the problem. But we do see Yan Jianan, 138 points, and then Rodriguez 101 points. So we know that it's possible, but it was possible 3 or 4 years ago, which is the concern there. But I can certainly see the dog play, and I wouldn't have to try to convince me too hard to switch to Esparza in this one. But we will move on to the next fight now, which is might be interesting. Something tells me this breakdown. It is Ryan Spahn at 9,200 taking on Ovin St. Preux at 7,000. The line on this fight is minus 230 for Ryan Spahn. Minus 230, you heard that right, and plus 195 for Ovin St. Preux. Now, I'm going to let Drake go, last, so that he can stew in it a little bit, but I do want him to explain to me what Ryan Spahn has done in this sport to be a minus 230 dog against almost anybody, let alone a guy who's coming off a win where he outstruck at least a decent fighter. You don't want to get me, he was surging a little bit before that fight, was Kennedy Njoku. You want to say what he is or isn't. St. Preux still landed 143 significant strikes and a knockdown over the 3 rounds. That's pretty good for an old man. Ryan Spahn, you know what? I liked Ryan Spahn when he first came in. That's the funny thing. He's a decent boxer. He's extremely big and athletic. He's I think either a brown belt or a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's got some jiu-jitsu accolades. So I really did like him. The problem is he just doesn't throw and he freezes up. This happens in his losses and his wins. If anybody remembers that terrible fight he had against Devin Clark, which I hope you don't for your sake, but he just wouldn't throw and eventually got him in some weird guillotine up against the fence and won the fight. I think that was in the second round. but just so hesitant. And I mean, these guys are about the same length, but OSP knows how to use his length way better. And the ground is going to be interesting. I think whoever ends up on top is going to be the person who's going to win there. OSP knows how to use his length well on top. As I said, Ryan Spawn, a more credentialed black belt or brown belt or whatever he is, but that doesn't matter too much when you're that big. I think a lot of it has to do with your size more than anything else. But be that as it may, I got to go with OSP here just because the price doesn't make sense to me. Like, if this was a little closer, if you were going to tell me that this fight was going to be like 170, 140, or 130 Ryan Spawn, I'd go with it. I'm not even against the idea that you think Ryan Spawn is going to win. I just don't understand the price at all. So for that reason, I have to go with OSP to do it one more time. And we're going to go with Joey. We'll go with Joey. How do you see this fight?
If anyone's talking about being a big OSP guy, Drake can tell you. It's my Tennessee boy. I've been on him even before he got into UFC, and then I was even more excited once he got in. Yeah, he might have some fights that, he definitely has experience over. Look, he fought John Jones. Didn't do shit, but he still fought John Jones, so that's experience right there. Spawn, I found him out about the Contender Series. If you think he's going to win this fight, just know 16 of his wins are by round one, either by knockout, submission. I honestly see that happening in this fight. If you're telling me OSP is getting knocked the beep out by Lins under a minute, you tell me that Spawn can't come in and just hit OSP with a lead right and just absolutely flatline him and probably bring him to the shadow realm, there's a good probability of that happening. But if he doesn't get that round one finished, then if you see how the cardio looks, OSP to me could probably be a better live bet if you think that he could take over round 2s and 3. But as a DFS pick, I'm picking Spawn. I got to go with my gut. Seeing if I think he gets a round one finish, he's going to score over 100, so he's going to pay off. Maybe I'll get a leverage with him because I know a lot of the field is probably going to get to the higher paid options.
Yeah, no, I listen. I definitely think he can chin him. I just think that there's too many things going against him. Maybe even himself. I don't know. Maybe he's got hangups about fighting. It kind of does look like that at times, but I digress. But I do see the power, certainly. But Drake, I am curious, and maybe you can enlighten us. Why are you picking the guy so confidently, who's a big favorite, who lost to Anthony Smith twice, is currently on a 3-fight losing streak? Can you please enlighten us, sir?
In short, we've seen a lot of these 40-year-old guys, as soon as they hit 40, they seem to have one really good fight left, and then they just taper off and die. And I don't think it's going to be any different in this one. He had 140 strikes in his last fight, and I think he emptied his tank. We aren't going to see that again in this one. Could he knock him out? Absolutely. Ryan Spann. So if you, I don't know if you're familiar with Fantasy Labs, but Billy Ward over at Fantasy Labs sums this up perfectly. And he basically just says that Ryan Spann he's a glass cannon in the UFC. He's a really powerful fighter with limited defensive upside or, capabilities. And so when it comes to his fights, it's either he finishes or he gets finished. And generally it's really fast in the first round. In this case, I just don't see OSP having enough left in the tank to fight somebody that has 10 times the athleticism that he has now. If it was a guy that was a little slower again, then sure. Kennedy is not fast by any means. Mm-hmm. So he was able to keep up with him and outstrike him and almost control the whole fight. You can't do that with a guy that's so much more athletically gifted than you are. What he's hoping for is that he lands a knockout, and that's pretty much it, because Spann's going to control everything in this fight.
Maybe, but maybe if he used that athleticism a little better, I would be more akin to go for it. I understand this isn't going to be a situation where, like, if Spawn wins, you can get to me on Twitter and be like, I told you, because look, obviously I get that can happen. It's just the price seems bizarre to me, and Ryan Spawn is a glass cannon, but also I think spectacularly unreliable in the way that he approaches fights, like on any given fight. Like, he can get in there and look good, or he can get in there and look like, he saw a mouse and he's afraid to do what he needs to do. But But we will see, and I think that's going to be an interesting one. And I know that my little warning there won't stop Drake from getting in the DMs and being like, see that. So I'm preparing for it, but I did want to go ahead and put that disclaimer out there for the world first. But right now, we will go ahead and move on to what I imagine will be a way, way less controversial fight between us. It is Cesar Almeida at 9,400 taking on Ehor Pateria at 6,800. The line on this fight, it is Almeida minus 400, Pateria plus 300. And what is there to say, really? I mean, Almeida's going to knock him out. Pateria is tough. He can take some shots. He does have, I think, round one spark out in there, but most of his fights, he at least, give you some bang for your buck before he gets knocked out. So maybe the over in rounds is in play. But other than that, I don't see how Almeida doesn't knock him out at some point. Very just tricky, fast, powerful striker. Even in that fight against Kopylov, which Kopylov controlled, he had his moments in and kind of made Kopylov sweat down the stretch. So I'll keep this one short and sweet, and we will just say Almeida. And we'll start with Drake this time. Drake, how do you see this fight?
I agree with just about everything you said, but there is one point that I would like to point out, and that's how terrible Almeida's takedown defense is. If Pateria, for whatever reasons, decides that he wants to wrestle in this fight, we're all going to be super upset because Almeida's not going to be able to get up, and he's going to lose. That said, it should be Almeida by round one knockout.
Yeah, and that definitely could happen. But the other thing to note is when guys try to wrestle who don't wrestle, it just ends up bad for them unless they somehow finish, because then they're really tired because then they've spent a round doing something that they've never done before. So could be possible, but I still think it would just probably be delaying the inevitable more than anything else, because I certainly don't think Pateria could wrestle over 3 rounds committedly. So in that instance, I would be upset because it would probably really hurt your value at the 9,400 because the finish might come later, but I'd still go with Almeida there. Joey, how do we see this one?
So I've only told this to one person all week, and that one person knows who he is. I told him beginning of the week. I do a thing where I pick my Planet Flag fighter. For some reason, I was this close putting it on Ehor Pateria.
Oh,
this
no.
Close. I'm on a 5-fight win streak for doing it. And I'm like, I was this close putting this on Pateria. I was like, look, I think the line's too big, first off. I do. I think the line's too big. Cesar Almeida is one-dimensional as hell, but he's good at that one dimension. He could land on the chin and absolutely flatline him. Maybe even be live for the first 60 seconds. That's a possibility. I'm going Pateria. I've seen him actually have takedowns outside the UFC. And Almeida gets taken down with the easiest leg trip, He just gets taken down and he just accepts his ass on the bottom. I think the live is definitely 6,800. If you tell me any type of win method, it covers. If somehow he survives and just take down, repeat, holds, I'm fine with that. I think there's a chance he might even get a submission within the first 2 rounds.
When Almeida knocks him out in 60 seconds, I'm going to blow your ass up.
That's fine. And Gabe, you're right. You actually did talk me off. I was like, bro, I want to put it on a big dog. He's like, what dog was? I was like, Pateria. He's like, man, are you out of your fucking mind?
Well, Drake has the potential to be really busy in the DMs tomorrow.
Oh, no, he'll call me.
Okay, sure. But no, it's funny because when you said that, Joey, I had to go back and look. And so I want to ask you this question. Now, Ehor Pateria has fought 6 times in the UFC. How many takedowns do you think he has in those 6 fights?
None.
0 is the correct answer, yes. So to me, it goes back to what I said. Like, yes, could it be done? But he'd be doing something he never does. And
well, it's not even just that. Not only does he not do it, but he definitely does not do it at elevation.
Right, that's true. Yes, another.
So even if he does it round 1 and he wins round 1 with those takedowns, he's going to be so gassed in round 2.
Yep. Well, you know what? But Joey, I appreciate it. I like it when people come in here and put it on the table and say, "Look, this might not be popular, but here is my pick." We applaud that here at Fight IQ.
Yeah, like all the times that I picked Dreykus, but I was actually right on those.
Well, look, middleweight is not a real division. We all know that. But
man, Dreykus by submission last fight made me bank.
I imagine like middleweight. If you're like big and you're athletic and you can wrestle, you like win all the time. That's just it. But no, I mean, it was a good performance. And look, as much crap as I talk on him, nobody can stop him yet. And it's so funny to me that the one guy who came the closest was Derek Brunson. Maybe we should bring him back and maybe see what's going on there. But I respect the Pereira pick, and the flip side is that if he wins, you better be on blowing up Drake's text messages. Not
I will.
All night, and the next morning. Just don't let him live it down.
I'm not gonna let him hear the end of it because I almost picked Brito. He's like, Joey, you're not picking Brito, are you? I'm like, I think there's a chance that not Brito. Oh, Gomes. I was gonna pick Gomes. He's like, bro, don't you do it. It's not gonna happen.
And this is coming from the guy that also planted his flag on Chelsea Chandler. Okay.
Was that in the runaway fight?
No, that was the last one where she got completely annihilated.
Oh, yeah, all right.
Who is it? Thiago Santos' wife.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, right. Sure.
And I was at a concert. I didn't even watch. And someone's like, man, whoever put money on Chelsea Chandler is a jackass. I'm like, wait, what? And then I saw the fight. I was like, dude, she didn't fight for shit.
Yeah, no, it wasn't her best day. But again, we respect the courage of the conviction. And fortunately, I don't think it's going to end up too well. But we shall see on that. But we will move on now to what is the next fight. And it is hopefully something a little more, competitive, at least in terms of price. And it is Alexander Hernandez at 8,600, taking on Austin Thud Hubbard at 7,600. Line on this fight, Anthony Hernandez minus 130, Austin Hubbard plus 110. And Austin Hubbard's a guy I've always liked as an underdog just because he can do a little bit of everything in the cage. He can box, he can wrestle, he can submission grapple a little bit. And we know he's tough. We know we can always just go back to that Max Roskopf fight where not only did he survive a round of getting dominated in the grappling, he made the other guy quit on the stool, which is pretty remarkable. I like Hubbard in that respect. There's obviously things to like about Alexander Hernandez. He's fast. He's powerful. He can wrestle in his own right. But he quits after about a round if you push him. And we know that about him. We know that Austin Hubbard is going to be in his face the whole time. So it's going to be really interesting. Obviously, he's going to need to fade a blitz or two, an onslaught or two. But if he can do it, and I think he can, I think Austin Hubbard's going to come out on top here. I don't think he's going to get submitted by Hernandez. I think he's a little bit too tough and crafty for that. So it's going to be led to Alexander Hernandez is going to have to win against a very talented fighter over 3 rounds. Can he do it? I think not. I'm going to take the dog in a little bit of savings here, and I'm going to go with Austin Hubbard. And I believe we start with Joey for this one. Joey, how do you see this one?
How I honestly see it, if you think Hernandez is going to win, you better hope to the good Lord that he knocks good old Hubbard out in round 1.
Yeah.
Outside of that, he does slow down, and now he's in elevation. His cardio already sucks, and guess what? When he knows he just can't get the finish, as you said, he hits the quit button. He gets really non-defensive. He doesn't throw anything for shit. You can do that against Hubbard. Hubbard can mix it up. He has good combinations. He can time in some takedowns. You might be able to get a live bet on Hubbard after round 1. Maybe you can get more juicier odds as a live bet, which that's my lean I'm looking towards. Because I think Hernandez does win round 1. But round 2 and 3, I think Hubbard's going to pick it up. Maybe get a late round 3 TKO because Hernandez does tend to shell up and it's very hittable to do so. Or I think he's going to get a good maybe 29-28 decision.
Yeah, and it's the more I think about a spot like this, the more that I like it because, you think about the last 2 losses. Actually, you know what? It's 1-4 in the last 5, and the win is an old Jim Miller. And then you got Damon Jackson, who is a guy who just pressure. Thud is not that kind of pressure, but it will pressure. Then we know Algio gets in your face too, and so does Quarantillo, of course. So just so much. I think the dynamic to like for Thud here, but we do have one more person to ask, and it is Drake. So how do you see this one?
Hubbard going into the whole card was my favorite dog to begin with. I'm on him quite often. He fights for your money. He is extremely tough. He's never been knocked out. And like it's already been mentioned, Hernandez has absolutely no cardio after the first round. He's now fighting in elevation, which is going to cause even more problems for him. I love Hubbard in this fight. If he makes it out of that first round, it should be takedown control for the next 2 rounds and possibly even a submission.
Yeah, if we go, because I feel like Hernandez is the kind of guy who's not. He can knock you out, but he's not a knockout artist, and so for that kind of thing, I'm gonna go with the skill fighter. And for my money, and it sounds like for everybody's money, so that makes me feel more confident. I think it is Austin Hubbard, so he will be my dog play as well. But moving on here, we have Yasmin Lucindo at 8,600 taking on Reina Rodriguez at 7,600. Line on this fight, Lucindo minus 140, Rodriguez coming back at plus 150. And this is a fight where I just kind of see Lucindo giving a blanket performance with her wrestling. I think Rodriguez is a good striker, but kind of has that giraffe thing when people try to get on the inside of her, wrestle her. We saw her really get blanketed by jiu-jitsu fighter who I actually like, and now I am forgetting her name.
Jandaroba.
Yes, Jandrova. Thank you very much, Ray. Over 12 minutes of control time in that fight. So, I mean, the blanket performance, I think, is something to really look out for here. And at 8,600, that's going to make her a high floor cash play at the very least. And I just think she's going to be on the inside all day. She has a 3-inch height disadvantage, so she's going to be trying to get on that inside. She's not going to want to stand at range, and I think that's going to benefit us playing her. I think that's going to benefit her in the way it's going to force her to fight the style of fight that she should fight, which is always a good thing. So I am taking Lucindo here to pocket my 88 to 92 and get out a happy man. Drake, we'll start with you. How do you see this fight?
Marina is terrible on the mat.
Yeah.
She's got terrible takedown defense. She doesn't know how to get off of her back, and I will take any grappler wrestler against her. And I think Lucindo does exactly what you say. I think she's going to score well for DFS because even if Marina does get up, she's going to go right back down, which will just add to the total for DFS. I think this is a solid cash and GPP play.
Yeah, there's definitely the ceiling there for as you said, the prospect of the get up and get back down. So definitely something to work with there. Joey, how do you see this fight?
So I have 2 leverage plays on this card. Lucindo is my number 1 leverage play because I know everyone's gonna like some of the higher K options at 9K, and I think the higher 8K is where you could potentially get your real leverage this week. I'm really feeling, and this is one of them. And Lucindo was gonna be my other planet flag if I did do it this week, and I maybe should have done it because I did pick Spawn. I do think Spawn wins, but I should have probably went Lucindo. But yeah, I think Lucindo, she has decent pop in her hand. She can still hit. Rodriguez is hittable at times. But the crazy thing is how you mentioned Jandaroba. Lucindo trains with Jandaroba. So I can guarantee the whole training rounds, hey, this is what you should do. Get this leg position. Get that trip. Get that trip. Go jump for the back. Because, look, Lucindo's a decent submission artist as well. And her sub props at plus 1,000.
Wow. Yeah, no, that is big. And I did not know that about the training partners. But now, even more confident, Sky being the limit. So, yeah, looks like we have a lot of agreement, which is good to kind of cleanse the palate after our disagreement about the OSP fight. So we'll take it and get some more spicy stuff going forward, I'm sure. But now we will move on to Joaquin Buckley at 8,800, taking on Stephen Thompson at 7,400. line on this fight. It is Buckley at minus 220, Thompson, Wonderboy Thompson at plus 185. And for a guy whose takedown defense has just been lauded his whole career, man, has that just crumbled in the last 3 or 4 fights for Stephen Thompson. And Buckley, a guy that we all remember for, the crazy knockout, the spinning heel kick knockout, the big power in his hand, still has that, but has definitely leaned on his wrestling more in recent fights. 4 takedowns in his last one, in fact, a couple more in the fights prior to that. And both of those is going to be a really tough hand to beat. If this stayed on the feet, Thompson could still probably control the fight, despite Buckley being more athletic and powerful. But mixing in the wrestling in there, I just can't see giving Stephen Thompson too much of a chance. He said in the fighter press conference, "Oh, he's going to try to wrestle me." Well, everybody knows it. The question is, can you stop it? And I don't think that he can. So, unfortunately, I'm not sure if this is one of the retirements, Joey, that you were referencing, but if he loses here, it's really hard to decide where he goes from here, because any specter of a hope of a title shot has to leave him if he loses this matchup. And he gave us a lot of fun in that rivalry with Woodley, even though it was boring for long stretches of it. There was exciting moments of it, and maybe the best fighter to never win a title or one of them, but I do think it's coming to an end here. So my pick is Joaquin Buckley, and we will start with Joey once again. How you seeing this fight?
So I mentioned I had 2 leverage plays. Buckley's my second leverage play. Not a lot of people actually know this. Before he actually started falling in love with his hands, he came up as a wrestler. And he shows it. He has a strong blast double, and he's pretty good holding people in position for time control and ground and pound. And if you told me this was the prime Wonder Boy, I don't think Buckley gets a takedown by any means, and he's probably going to get knocked out. I just see Buckley, he even put it on his Instagram. He has a picture of him with the Khabib hair and the beard. He's like, my last name is like Buck Leonard Nemov. And he came with the whole dressed up theme for it. I'm like, and look, he's looked a lot better since dropping to 170. He's shown his well-roundedness game, and this is another guy. I hope if I do get to him, he is lower owned, and I can get some good leverage with him in Lucindo.
Yeah, absolutely. One of these fights where I feel like there's only really one way to play it, specifically because Stephen Thompson, especially later in his career, even when he was still getting his wins, he wasn't really, a knockout fighter. And now I don't think there's really any chance that he puts it on him. So again, he's going to have to stay on his feet for 3 rounds, which that prospect is even more grim, even if he does, stuff the first couple. But we'll go to Drake here. Drake, how do you see this one?
I'm in the same boat. I didn't want to go with Buckley. I really wanted to go with Wonder Boy, but it's the age and the way that he fights, his karate style doesn't work in the UFC anymore. It's dead and gone. So it's, for him, he'd be better off in boxing, to be honest. The whole MMA thing just isn't suitable for him anymore. And I can just see Buckley having his way. He's going to be able to do whatever he wants. I mean, he can sit there and strike with him with power, or he can just put him, down on the mat. It's going to be Buckley, I think, no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, I always have to go back to Kevin Holland making a concerted effort not to wrestle in that fight and getting 2 takedowns by accident and landing in mount once and then deciding to just stand up. I mean, if you can get a takedown without even trying, then I have to assume that when somebody tries, they're going to do pretty well. And the results have borne that out as well. So I think that Buckley is, even if you like Wonderboy Thompson, is the pick that has to be made there. And we will move on to the main card, the pay-per-view card now. But before we do that, we're going to take a short break for our audio-only podcast listeners, and we will be right back. And we are back. Thank you all so much for hanging out. If you are listening on the audio, wherever you get your podcast, we are going to dive into the pay-per-view card now. It is Kayla Harrison at a very hefty salary of $9,800, taking on Ketlin Vieira at $6,400. Line on this fight is, where are we? Oh, here we go. It is minus 1,400 for Kayla Harrison, plus 800 for Ketlen Vieira. And I'll open this way. If I was going to take a sub 7,000 fighter, if I was, and let's say it was Ihor Peteria or Ketlen Vieira, I would go Ketlen Vieira instead of Ihor Peteria. And the reason is, now, I didn't say I was taking her. I want to point that out. I'm making a theoretical case so that nobody can bust my chops later. But what I do think is, in all seriousness, Kayla Harrison is, I mean, to me, we didn't learn anything in that Holly Holm fight, because what I had hoped, even though Holly Holm had pretended to be a wrestler for the past 2 or 3 years, I had hoped that she would have learned, even though I didn't pick Holly Holm either, but I would hope that she would have learned, okay, I need to keep space here and I need to go back to boxing. She didn't do that. In fact, she actively tried to grapple with Kayla Harrison, which is the funniest thing I can possibly imagine. And then after the fight, she said, I didn't stick to the game plan. Oh, you think? What was the first clue? But here, the reason why I can see Ketlen Vieira being at least, more live than the odds say is, no Vinyao fighter, of course, that's the Jose Aldo camp, 92% takedown defense. So I'm not saying Kayla Harrison can't ragdoll her, because she's obviously the strongest fighter in this division, but no one has ever done that. So it will be the first time we've seen it. And we also know Kayla Harrison gets tired. We saw it in that last Larissa Pacheco fight. I think that Vieira can be similar on the bottom. All Larissa Pacheco had to do on the bottom was be active, pretty much, and Kayla Harrison didn't really know what to do. And some of that just included striking from the bottom, and it was almost like, wait, you're not letting me just do whatever I want. What do I do now? So it's that kind of thing where, when, like, I'm really not a big fan of Julianna Pena, but when she says that Kayla Harrison really hasn't fought anybody, I'm not sure she's wrong. Aside from Pacheco, of course. And Pacheco, I mean, it was a long time ago, but, didn't really make it in the UFC. So you kind of have to weigh these things out. Now, having said all of that, I'm still picking Kayla Harrison, just because I think that she's too strong for the fighters in this division. I think she's just going to ragdoll a bunch of fighters. Like, Holly Holm was the fighter who ragdolled fighters in this division. Like, she wasn't a wrestler, but she wrestled everybody just because she was stronger than everybody. And Kayla Harrison made her look powerless. I mean, Kayla Harrison is just incredibly strong, but Ketlen Vieira is the most skilled fighter she's fought yet, and the skill is just going to keep going up. So that's something to keep in mind for, future things. And 6,400, oh my goodness, could you do a lot with 6,400 on this card? So if you are playing a bunch of lineups, what I'm going to say for sure is, if you're playing 5,000 lineups, get at least 8, 9, 10% Ketlen Vieira in there, because I don't see the walkthrough. Now, if she just walks through her, then I'll have to reevaluate my whole thing on Kayla Harrison. And I'm still picking her again because I just think she's strong. She's that much stronger than everybody in this division. Ketlen Vieira is not like a pinpoint striker, so she's not going to be able to make her pay too much if they do stay on the feet. So I am picking Harrison, but Ketlen Vieira may be a little bit liver than somebody might think. And I can see that there must be strong winds, because you guys' heads are going like this. But we will see what you think about this fight. And we'll start with Drake this time, I believe. Drake, how you see this fight?
Yeah. So the thing with Kayla Harrison, aside from her being literally like the strongest in the division, because it's really not even close, and I think the only person that could stop her from getting the belt no longer fights anymore, and Amanda Nunes.
Yeah.
Kayla Harrison is just a different animal. I mean, when she came to MMA after, her judo world championship, it added an entirely different aspect to MMA, especially in, the PFL and all those other places or promotions. Harrison, well, I don't think Ketlen Vieira has even fought, a judo specialist like this. I don't think it's going to be even close. She's going to get in, and she's not going to know how to stop her from throwing her. When you're that much stronger than somebody in only a 3-round fight, you can pretty much do as you please. She's got cardio to last probably 4 rounds the way she fights, and then it's the 5th round that you really have to worry about. But we don't have 5 rounds in this fight. We have 3. This is going to be Harrison by murder.
Okay, by murder is certainly a strong take. Joey, we will go to you. I know you're going Harrison, but as strong, stronger, not as strong as Drake. Let's hear it.
Oh, I'm a million times stronger than where the hell Drake's coming from with this.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
Look, I'll say this right now. Not only I'm placing her as a priority to play for me in every line I do. If y'all want to make money as a betting, Kayla Harrison inside the distance plus 100. If you want to play under 2.5, which I don't think it even gets close to 2.5, you can get at a plus 120.
Wow. Yeah, no, that I and you know what, I like those lines too. It's just it's I think the thing to me is that we're gonna have to see things that we just don't see. And I know that you guys are confident that she'll do it, but like we don't see Ketlin Vieira getting like stomped out and finished. We don't see her getting taken down. So it's an adjustment for me, but I do certainly entertain the possibility and by all means take a lot of Kayla Harrison. But my personal opinion, although not shared by these two gentlemen here, is to have yourself a little Kayla Harrison. I'm a little listen to me, a little Ketlin Vieira just in case, but that is just one man's opinion. But we will move on now, and it is Kevin Holland at 8,300 taking on Roman Dolidze at 8,300. Line on this fight is Holland minus 157, Dolidze 1 plus 137 coming back, and I can actually see this fight being kind of boring, and the reason for that is, it would be great if we could see these two guys grapple, but Kevin Holland doesn't grapple unless he feels outmatched, and Roman Dolidze is more of an opportunistic submission grappler, so I think they're going to kind of stay on the feet, and so that's just going to be Kevin Holland poking Dolidze, landing some big shots, but Dolidze is tough. Dolidze trying to take his head off and mostly missing. And then Kevin Holland just kind of winning by a decision that's clear, but like not very exciting. So that's basically my take on this fight. I do think Kevin Holland is a skilled striker. I wish he would wrestle more. Again, it would make this fight at least more exciting. But I do think that this one has the potential to just kind of be a staring match in space at times. And so I'm really kind of fading it in my lineups personally. Although Holland is the pick for me, we will see what our boys think. We're going to start with Joey T. Joey, what do you think?
If I knew the actual game plan of his coaches and knew what mindset Dolidze was bringing in, like I said, Holland is an optimistic grappler at times where he's like, okay, I'll clinch up, I'll hold on. You go to the ground, Dolidze, you're not getting up and you're probably getting submitted. There are 2 different styles of grappling. Dolidze has some of the nastiest grappling if you actually do ever get to see it from him in the UFC. And if he's smart and wants to make this fight look easy, close the distance, get the takedown, and you can probably get him out there inside that round. Are we going to see it? Who the heck knows? I think, as you said, I think this fight could be boring. I think it could be just jab, jab, jab. Maybe Dolidze lands a power punch and makes everybody go, ooh, some type of damage. But I'm on Kevin Holland. But if you're telling me you think Dolidze does get the wrestling 7,900, there's a chance he could definitely get a finish inside round 1.
Yeah, and I mean that's the big thing, and nothing makes me more infuriating as a fan and a DFS player, and I'm sure I'm not alone here, when guys don't fight the way they're supposed to. And fun fact, Roman Dolidze's takedown that he got in his last fight against Anthony Smith, the only takedown he scored in the UFC in his 6 fights. So it is a crime. I mean, these guys who clearly have power think that that's all you need, and then or maybe they can club and sub you because maybe that's what used to work on a regional scene. Not that he's doing poorly by any means. He's okay, but he would certainly be doing better, I think, if he did try to use that wrestling grappling a little more. But we will go to Drake. Drake, how do you see this fight?
This is one of those fights that I just hate talking about, and I hate when Kevin Holland fights as much as he fights because you just don't know which version you're going to get.
Yeah.
And it's the crappiest thing about him fighting. It's if he would have came out in that Page fight and actually fought, he probably would have won that fight. But he likes to sit there and showboat. He likes to sit there and talk, and who knows what else he wants to do or does in the cage. But at some point, I think he's got to kind of grow out of that. In his last fight, he submitted Oleksiejczuk, and he, for the minute that it lasted, he was looking like he was there to fight. And I'm hoping that's the case in this one, because if he's here to fight and he wants to win, he's going to have his way in the striking. He's got the range. He can keep it on the outside. And we've seen him do it time and time again. He doesn't have an issue doing that. He has an issue staying involved in the fight. So I think it's going to be a slower paced fight because I don't see it hitting the mat. And I think it's going to be who outpoints who. And in that case, I got Holland.
Yeah, I think that's the way you have to go. And then kind of have some shares of Delete Say if you want him just for that, the rare chance that he actually does wrestle, or maybe, get a big shot in and then go to the grappling or something like that. But like I said, it's probably going to have to be circumstantial more than anything else. And for that reason, it's really hard to trust him. So I think Holland has to kind of be the pick there. But we will move on up the pay-per-view card now. It is really maybe the most fight I'm looking forward to on this entire card. And it is Mario Batista at 8,500 taking on the King of Rio, Jose Aldo, at 7,700. Line on this fight, very, very close, minus 142. Batista plus 122, Jose Aldo. So I love Jose Aldo. Picked Jose Aldo very confidently against Jonathan Martinez. Thought that a stationary kickboxer who just leg kicks all the time is just a great matchup for Jose Aldo. I don't see it in this one, and I don't see it in this one because Mario Batista, very agile, very quick, will throw in combination, is going to, be giving Jose Aldo a lot of different looks, maybe even trying to grapple, obviously the legendary takedown defense of Aldo, but just he's going to be in there mixing it up. He's not going to let Aldo sit down and get his reads and pick apart like a guy like Jonathan Martinez is. He's not going to let him have the kind of fight he wants. This is going to be much more similar to the way a guy like Max Holloway fights him, where you just put volume on him all the time and kind of overwhelm him. When you overwhelm Jose Aldo, he will concede ground, he will back up, and he will try to just give you, head movement to dodge the strikes. And at a certain point, that stops working, and I think it's going to stop working here. Love the guy, love everything he's done for the sport. I think that this is about it for him. I would like to see him go and fight maybe a Dominic Cruz if he wants to do it after this fight, but I think that this is going to be it in terms of any realistic expectation that a title fight might materialize in the later years here. But if he does happen to pull it off, he's really actually in contention for one, which is kind of crazy. But I do have to say that I think Mario Batista wins the day here. But we will start with Drake. Drake, how do you see this one?
Yeah, I don't know about this one. Bautista, he's a really great young fighter, but the problem that people run into against Aldo is he kind of forces them to slow down and fight to his pace. It's very similar to Arlovsky, who does the same thing at the heavyweight division. Could Bautista come out and, outstrike him? Yeah, he could. I just don't see it happening. Aldo's the better striker. He's better defensively, and it's not even close. Let me ask you a question, Chris. Yeah. So you think that Bautista is going to be able to, kind of Max Holloway him and, stay in the pocket, continually throw whatever it is. Who would you take in a fight between Bautista and Petr Yan?
I would take Petr Yan.
Petr Yan was one of the guys that dismantled Aldo, and he made it look easy. Now, if he does that and he's able to, to take the game plan that Yan had and apply it in this fight, yeah, he's going to dominate him. I don't see it. I think Aldo's going to outclass him, outpoint him, and I think it's just going to be a kind of boring decision.
I can see Aldo. I mean, he's heavy on his front leg too. If Aldo goes back to the leg kick, because that'll be something. And he is the more technical striker, and his defense only seems to be getting better, which I do appreciate. But I just don't know that he keeps up with these younger fighters at this point. I just don't know it. Like I just think he there were times even in that Jonathan Martinez fight where he just sort of lets the strikes pile up. Martinez doesn't do it enough, and that's to his detriment. And one of the reasons I picked Aldo. But if you start flurrying on him, he'll just try to evade. And like the upshot of it is 3, 4, 5 strikes will land in a row. And then all of a sudden, in a round he's clearly winning, you're like, oh no, is Aldo in trouble? And I think that's going to get him here. I just think it's the young. But I'm going to be. This is one of the rare occasions where I'm going to be rooting against my own pick, because I think it would be incredible if Aldo won here. I mean, I would like nothing more than this guy to essentially get a title shot with 3 generations of fighters. Like, I think that would be one of the most amazing things we've ever seen. But I just don't. He's still going to be one of the all-time greats, win or lose. I just don't think it's this one. But Joey, how do you see this fight?
This is one fight actually been torn on all week. Whoever says they don't like Aldo, you're a liar. You have every reason to like Aldo. He's a legend. Batista, he's well-rounded. He's on the uprise. And you said who would you pick? Batista and Jan? You said Jan?
I said Jan, yeah.
Okay. Well, good thing for Batista. He is well-rounded. Maybe he can try to close the distance, get some takedowns, which it's going to be hard to do. If you're telling me for a value, I'm probably going Aldo, because there's times even when Batista does come forward, he eats a lot of leg kicks. And once his leg kicks he tries to go for, his hands do tend to drop. And even at Aldo's age, I don't know how old he is, like 38, 42, 44. People are saying he's lying about his age. Who knows? But the old man got pop in his hand still. And I'm picking Aldo.
Yeah, he's got pop in his hands, but he's not a finisher per se. Like, Aldo finishes need to be like one big moment, and then he gets you. Kind of like what we saw in the Moicano fight, what we saw in the 3rd round of the Jonathan Martinez fight, even though that didn't. I mean, the only reason he didn't finish Jonathan Martinez is because I feel like he didn't want to. Like, he had a finish there, and he just sort of dumped him. Kind of like, all right, kid, that's the end of it.
Hey, who knows? Maybe at the last 15 seconds we'll get a point, and they'll just
trade,
flare at each other like Holloway and Gaethje.
That would be kind of amazing. But I can definitely see the case for Aldo, and again, I'll be rooting for it. But I just think it's kind of I mean, there's more to it than this, but the young buck kind of just has too much in the tank.
I do got one thing to say.
Yeah,
if Aldo as a weird method I'm seeing, because like I said, Batista does come forward. I'm leaning on playing Aldo by knockout TKO at plus 650. I could legitimately see Batista walking into like a body kick or a liver shot, and Aldo just winning by like a body shot like within the first 2 rounds.
I do love Aldo's body work. That is a good point there. But
best in the UFC.
Yeah, no, for sure. And a guy who just had the crushing loss against Conor, and then kind of just felt like he was going to go away. Yeah, he had a win against Frankie Edgar, which is a guy he always beat. But then it kind of just felt like he would go away, and then out of nowhere, he came storming back, really went away, worked on his boxing with the Brazilian boxing champions. And you can see, I mean, I don't remember the last time a veteran has put in the work like this. And that's part of the reason why everybody likes him so much, and they should. So we'll see how it goes. I think it's going to be that is my main event, and I think maybe some other people's as well. But we will go on to the actual main events here. Going to the co-main events first. It is Raquel Pennington at 8,400, Julianna Pena at 7,800. Line on this fight, it is Pennington minus 170, Julianna Pena plus 145. And even if I don't like a fighter personally or outside the cage, or don't like their fighting style, whatever, try to give everybody respect, because they're all fighters and they all put it on the line. I do not like Julianna Pena. I think that look, her mouth is just, if she was going to talk all that much after she beat Amanda Nunes, fine, I get it. But to lose in the way she did, getting knocked down that many times and getting stumbled like half a dozen more times, and then still coming out and being like, yeah, I'm the best on the planet. I'm the best in this division. And her fighting style is so bad. It's like a regional style that she brought here because when she was really in the thick of it, it was still the older generation, and she was beating fighters like Sarah McMahon and things like that. And now it's this flailing come forward style with no defense, where you just get tagged to try to make it into the clinch or make your opponents tired. And we saw Raquel Pennington did just fine with that against Buena Silva, who really poured the pressure on her. So that's not going to work either. The other thing is we're talking about a submission grappler who gets submitted by weird people. She has a submission loss to Valentina Shevchenko, and she has a submission loss to...
Hey, don't be taking my hot take here.
Huh?
Don't. You're going too far.
Well, I think I know what you're going to say. I'll pull up a little bit. But suffice to say that not only Shevchenko, but also Germaine Durandamy, I believe that's still her only submission win, Germaine Durandamy. I just don't see where Pena wins this fight. Pena beat Amanda Nunes, and I won't call it a fluke because I don't think that's quite right. Nunes just got tired because she didn't take it seriously. That's what happened. If that happens to Pennington, yeah, she'll win again. But has Pennington ever shown anybody at all this week that she's not taking anything seriously? I haven't seen it. Maybe somebody else has. So at 8,400 over 5 rounds, and this is a sentence I don't say a lot for DFS. I love Raquel Pennington in this spot. I think she really racks it up. And I think she could compete on the ground too if she wants. If she wants to take her down, I think she could take her down. I have no fear that she's going to get submitted. I think only submitted once in her career, spanning 24 fights now. I just have no fear of anything. Obviously, the better boxer. Not a ton of power in her hands, but enough pop to put Julianna Pena on notice. God save me. I just love Raquel Pennington in the spot, and I'm going to be all over it. And Drake is itching to get in there. I pulled up on the submission stuff because I know where you're going. Why don't you let us know what you're thinking?
Oh, man, I am one of those people that cannot stand Julianna Pena.
It's tough.
She has got to be the most annoying, overrated fighter in the UFC, and that goes for men and women. The one fluky win, because I do think it was a fluke. I think it was Nunes's fault that she lost, and that makes it a fluke.
Yeah,
she didn't take it seriously. She got Pena had the belt for however long she had it, few months, whatever it was. She came out and got completely dominated in just the most disgusting fashion. That fight could have ended so many times, and Nunes just played with her food because she was tired of her. And not that Pennington fights the same way, but I think Pennington is 10 times the fighter that Pena is. I don't see, unless Pena somehow cracks her chin and stumbles her, this is Pennington's fight all day. I think she dominates the ground. I think she dominates the striking. I do not see a way in which she loses.
Yeah, it's hard not to see it that way. I mean, if we scroll back here a little bit, I mean, we should say too that Nunes fight was more than 2 years ago now. The one where she got dominated.
Yep.
It's been a while since she came back, since you fought anyway. She's 36 now, and I mentioned Sarah McMahon because I guess it was just fresh in my mind. That's her last win before that, and then her last win before that is
she doesn't have any good ones.
He remembers
Cat Zingano? No.
So, the tough champion for 2 seconds, and God only knows what happened there. But
Pennington already beat somebody that I think is better than Pena, and she's on this card in Ketlin Vieira. Vieira was able to walk forward, and Pennington said, "Nope, I'm going. This is my fight. You're done."
Yeah, no, it's a great point, but we will let Joey get his hacks in at the carcass here. Joey, how do you see this fight?
Hopefully, his pick changed.
Wow, really? Okay, let's go.
So, well, these two were supposed to fight originally during the Ultimate Fighter finale. Raquel had a hand injury and unfortunately lost to one of the worst female fighters that ever fought in the UFC, aka Cody Brundage's wife. if I want to look at the overall evolution between the two, I think who's grown a lot more is definitely Pennington. Dana, even that season's like, look, if you let your hands go and be more active, you can be one bad, boom. And ever since that, she won her early career. She had a couple losses. After her fight with Nunez, it looked like another switch turned on. And honestly, look, I know Pena is my girl and all, but I think Pennington's going to absolutely run through her. I hate to say it.
I'm sorry. Pena's your what?
Look, I've known her for a while.
You mean personally?
I'm not buddy to buddy with her, but
okay.
I met her once, and she's nice, but she's definitely almost like a female version of Kofi Covington, trying to talk her way up and get her fights that she wants. Which, hey, she gets her money for it. More to her. Yeah. But I hate to say it, and I know Drake said, "I hope your mind changed," and it changed. I'm on Pennington. I'm putting her in every line. 8,400. I think she could probably break the entire slate.
That I agree with that, and I think a Pena pick would have broken the stream. I think we would have had to go off the air. In fact, if you went ahead and picked Pena, I'm glad you didn't. But I just can't see it. Like I always try to, and I think you should be like, well, how can I be wrong here? How can this fight go the opposite way that I think it's going to go? And on this fight, I really can't think of too much.
I tried to go back to rewatch. I really couldn't find nothing. But I was like, what are you gonna do? She's gonna land one lucky shot like she did against Nunes.
Yeah.
And then Nunes like, oh shit, I'm gassed. She got taken down quick and got her neck snatched.
Right.
Do I see that happen in here? No.
Yeah, and I do think that's really the only play. I mean, you met her personally. She's nice. That's cool. But I think that's all she got. She should try being a bit nicer on the mic.
She should go to the PFL.
Yeah. Maybe that is that's in the offing here. I did just want to shout out Lucas, because Lucas has been leaving us comments, and I see you, my friend. He does think that Aldo is a fighter for the money, and I agree. And it's kind of like we were saying, the guy never stopped working, and you got to admire that. And that's why I do think he does have a shot, but we will certainly see how that one plays out. But now we are going to go to the actual main event of the evening. It is Alex Pereira at 9,600, taking on Khalil Rountree at 6,600. And the line on this fight, appropriately wide, I think minus 490 Alex Pereira, plus 355 Khalil Rountree. And we all know the story of Khalil Rountree. He's this guy who, he went away to Thailand, had one really good disciplined striking performance, and then kind of just went back to who he was, which is a big, powerful, explosive striker who's going to, and that's the sort of problem with him, is that he is not in any manner a technical striker or a combination puncher. He fights in bursts, so he will flurry and then kind of stare, and then flurry and kind of stare. There's a reason why it took him so long to knock out Anthony Smith, even though he had every advantage standing in that fight. And it's because he just really doesn't come forward a lot. Pereira, I think, can really make him pay for those blitzes in with that long left hook counter, and stick him into place with a jab, really work those leg kicks, kind of the way Alex Pereira wins every fight, at least in recent memory, come to think of it. But I do think this one has the potential to not score great, just because these guys have to respect each other's power. And Alex Pereira is more of a counter puncher, even though he will poke at you, of course, with the jabs and the leg kicks. And I really think it's going to be a lot of you go, I go, with devastating consequences, more so than we generally see in a matchup like that. But I still think that there's a danger that this can go into the second or third round. And if it does, you're going to be in trouble for DFS, because there's not going to be a lot of volume here. So my pick is Pereira. I do think the knockout could materialize at some point. But for DFS, for the price, I'm a little wary about it, because I think the fight could be a little slower paced. But we will see what the boys think. Joey, how do you see the main event?
So you actually pretty much stole my idea to an extent, where I'll tell you right now, I know Drake thought I was going to pick Khalil. I'm also a big fan of Khalil's too. Hey, I might even shed a little tear if he wins. I'm like, oh shit, let's go.
Yeah.
Type of deal, right? But realistically, I'm going Pereira. You know, I think he's gonna win this fight, and then sooner or later, as Glover said, he's gonna see him go up to heavyweight and try to do that. If he does that, yeah, greatest of all time. Easy said and done. I actually like the over 1.5. I think it could be like more of a respectable, kick by kick, and the over 1.5 at minus 125.
Yeah, no, that is certainly very good. I do want to see him go up to heavyweight. I think he has to fight Ankalaev first. You got to beat the best guy in the division for you first, and then you can go up and do whatever you want to do. This fight felt like they were ducking Ankalaev. He's got to fight a wrestler at some point in his career. Like he cannot. And look, Ankalaev is not really a wrestler per se. He's more a grappler, but he would use it in that fight almost certainly. The way he used it when he had to against Jan Blachowicz. So we know that he will. But he's got to fight a wrestler at some point. He can't just always shield him from the wrestlers. But I agree. I do like Pereira, and I do like that over too. I think that's a nice number. Drake, how do you see the main event?
Before I go into this, I just want to make a note that at the beginning of the week, Joey said, and I quote, one of the belts is changing. And I said, no, neither of them are changing. And then he proceeded to argue with me. So that's now on record.
All right.
That said, I don't think that Rountree deserves this fight. There's 5 guys in front of him that I think he should have fought first. Ozdemir, Rakic, even Blachowicz can be added in that, Ankalaev, and even Jamal Hill. Those are all guys I think that should have been fought for a matchup for Rountree before he had this fight. I don't think that Rountree is a good fighter. I think he is all muscle, and I think that he's just a better version of William Knight. I have Pereira by knockout within the first 2 rounds, just like it just basically how it happened to Jiri Prochazka. Pereira is going to get the measure of him, and it's going to be lights out.
Yeah, definitely could be. My only concern there is, Prochazka comes forward, so you knew that was going to be fireworks.
I hope he does. I absolutely hope he does. It's going to be the worst thing that he can do in this fight.
Yeah. No, but I think that I meant to say Prochazka. I'm not sure if I did, but Prochazka comes forward, and I think Rountree can be a little more reserved there. But either way, I can definitely see a knockout materializing. I really wish we had a little more to say about the main event here. Although I always relish the opportunity to trash on Julianna Pena, so I am grateful that was a little bit of a longer segment, and we all got our work in there. But that is it for the Fight IQ UFC 307 breakdown. Thank you so much, gents. But before we go, we are going to move on to hot takes. If you're not familiar with this, we find either a line or a parlay that we think is a little too juiced up for the odds it has to come in, and we give it to you as a value play. And I'll kick it over to the boys first. Does either of you have a hot take? I know Drake is chomping at the bit, so let's go.
I got 2 of them. So the first one is just it's a 3-piece parlay. You got Kayla Harrison, CJ Almeida, and Ryan Spann, all to win inside the distance. It's about plus 341. And then as a singular bet, I have Raquel Pennington winning by submission plus 500.
Yeah, that 500 is tasty. I mean, look, if Jermaine Durandamy can do it, you have to imagine Raquel Pennington can do it too. Joey, what about you? You got a hot take, my friend?
I kind of said it before. I'm considering doing it as a straight. I think if Lucindo does get down Rodriguez, I think the submission could be live. I really do. Rodriguez is scared off her back, and that's plus 1,000 for Lucindo.
Yeah, 1,000 is spicy meatball. Like I was gonna say Jandroba couldn't do it, so I don't know. But for 1,000, yeah, that might certainly be worth a look for 1,000. I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys 2 as well. My first one, which is maybe the more realistic one, is Tim Means by knockout, and that's plus 360. I just think if the chin is gonna go, then Tim Means, being as old and as kind of worn as we've seen him at times, it still doesn't bode well. And I think that if you're just gonna try to beat like a slow kickboxer with no chin, then it's just not gonna work for you. And I had my other one, but I don't see it now. Why don't I see it? I wonder. You know what? I haven't even looked at this one. So
while you're looking at that, so there's another one that I really like, and this is mainly because of the whole elevation. And these odds are just absolutely ridiculous.
Right.
Austin Hubbard by submission plus 2,000 against a gassed out Hernandez in the second or third round.
That's a good one. That is a good sneaky one. I do like that, but I did find mine too. And you can probably guess what it is, Drake. It is plus 800 for the knockout for Ovince St. Preux. So we're going to go with that as well. Those are my two. Tim Means plus 350, Ovince St. Preux plus 800. And we'll throw it over to the audience here. Guys, if you have a hot take in the chat, throw it in here. I will put it up. Anything that you see in the pattern of what you just saw us do right there, where you think something might happen, which is really kind of long on the odds, and you want to give it to us, I will. I said a little late, so let's vamp for a couple seconds while guys maybe think of it. I mean, how bad is Julianna Pena? Just so
terrible.
Bad. Yeah,
terrible.
Joey, you can't even say that. You were all about her at the beginning of the week. I don't want to hear it.
But yo, listen to this. So you said Hubbard by submission. I said Lucendo by submission. Combined both
together was it
two legs
7,000.
The two leg is plus 23,000.
Well, here's a question.
23,000.
Can't see it, but that's worth $10.
Here's a question: when a line gets that big, do books actually let you bet it to a certain amount, or do they?
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, if you wanted to go and put like $500 on that, it would let you. It wouldn't.
Oh yeah, it would let me.
Yeah, for sure.
If I put $500 on it, I would win on my book $115,500.
Well, you know what? They might. Well, they only do this if you bet a lot. But I was thinking they might put you up in the comments in the UFC, like if this comes in, he gets $100,000. But yeah, that is definitely
worth a sprinkle.
Yeah,
worth a sprinkle indeed. Wow, I do not see any hot takes, so that's all right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Just the same, that is it for the UFC 307 Fight IQ podcast. Drake, thank you so much as always. Joey, thank you so much for doing this on short notice. Of course, we found out a little early in the week, no Joe, but our Joey filled in very well, I do believe. So thank you so much, buddy.
Thanks for having me on, man.
No problem. Anytime, you know that. And guys, we are done here. We will see you next month for UFC 308. Until then, best of luck in all of your contests and enjoy the fights.